My name is House of Radon. I am from Iceland. I play crossover classical music into pop music. Trying to make classical music popular, I guess. Well, I started making the music maybe early 2006. Was recording my first album. Then I think only 3-4 months after I actually put some of the music online, I was playing the first shows, and they were already sold out. So it happened very fast. It was not some years of preparation. It was just a few months. I see myself as maybe a neoclassical composer, or I don't know. I'm just a musician. I guess that's the word for it. It creates quite a contrast when you're mixing these two different worlds together, but still it's just sound frequencies. There's, theoretically there's no actual difference between a sound coming from a computer or a sound coming from a piano. If they're both coming out from the same speaker, it's just sound waves. I do think a lot of the classical scene is very divided from the rest of the world, and I would like to see this divide broken down. I would like to see classical music as just another genre with, just like pop or rock or dance music, who are all kind of in the same category, and then there's classical on the other side.
When I started making records, you really had to have a piece of hardware for almost every task. So if you wanted to EQ a vocal, or you wanted to limit the variation and dynamic response of a given instrument, if you wanted to give it an echo or a delay, you wanted to make it feel as though it came from a cave, each of those things had to have its own specific box.
So you'd have a drum machine that was old and would only talk to your sequencer with a weird MIDI DIN sync converter. So just making electronic music, getting everything to even just generate sounds, was difficult.
I remember when we was doing, back in the days, we was doing Louder Than a Bomb, for example, and we needed to make a mute of all of like about 10 tracks, needed to all mute at once. And we didn't have any automation on our board. So we had to listen to the song come down, and then as it gets to a certain point, everybody has to go like, okay, 1, 2, 3. And everybody had to be on sync. And then you got a release in sync. So that, those are the kinds of dynamics that we had to do back in the days as vis-a-vis to what you can do today.
A big difference is that at that time you had to be like around 30, 35, know people, and have a little bit of money to be able to record stuff. Whereas now you can just do it on your own computer, and anyone can record music now.
When we started, one of the reasons that we were able to kind of get going was because you could just use a home computer to make multi-track recordings and, play a bit of guitar and then play some more guitar on top of it and then sing on top of it, and it was easy to do.
It's software, So now any kid can use a cracked version or buy a version of Reason or Logic or Ableton, and in about 5 minutes do what took 6 months or years 20 years ago.
there's a lot of different aspects of being a colorist, but basically what you do is adjust the look of footage, basically. The brightness, the contrast, the color, the saturation, you know, things like that. You give the footage a look. When I started out doing this, it was a matter of taking a roll of film, putting it up on a scanner, and adjusting the light level out of the scanner to make pictures. And it really isn't that much different, except now we're working with things like, you know, files and sequences instead of a roll of film. The Red is probably the newest generation, I would say, of a digital motion picture camera. And the most revolutionary thing about it, I think from a lot of people's perspective, is the fact that they knocked the zeros off the price tag to the point where a lot of people have access to making very high quality motion picture images. That's the biggest thing. I mean, you can always buy a cheaper camera, but I don't think there's ever been a camera at that price range that has generated the kind of images that it does. And that's, I think, the most revolutionary part about it.